So if you would like to see the preface for this video talking about how to build muscle overall, go check out the other two videos in this series. It'll be linked in the description and as a tab up top. But those videos go over the push muscles and the pull muscles, and it tells you how to grow those muscles. But I also have a part in the beginning of those videos talking about how to build muscle in general. But today I want to get right into the leg day muscles. So quads are going to be mostly type 2 muscle fibers, so you're going to have to train them real heavy to get that stimulus on the muscle. There's attachments at the knee, the femur, and the pelvis, and to stretch the quads, it requires the hips to be fully extended and the knee to be fully flexed. So a good exercise to get that full stretch with weight is going to be a body weight hack squat, or if you have a hack squat machine, let your hips drift forward and keep them fully locked the whole time and keep the whole movement in the knees. And that's going to give you really good stimulus on the quads, especially in that stretch position, but it's also going to be very good for your knee health as well. I highly recommend those to help with knee pain. Of course, starting with lightweight and progressing at a good pace. So for the max contraction is going to be when you're leaning forward at the hips more, and obviously the knees are going to be fully extended. So that's going to be leg extensions with the forward lean to fully emphasize the shortening of the muscle. So here are some key exercises for the quads, which is mostly going to be our squats here. So we have regular back squats, and we also have front squats, which are going to hit the quads more. So first with back squats, I have a video linked up above of how to squat properly, and another video of a bunch of different types of squats for different purposes. So your squats, you're going to want to squat with reps between 6 to 8 or even less than that, because that's going to place enough stimulus on the quads without over fatiguing the back and the core, which generally fatigue before the legs when you're doing higher reps of squats. Proper breathing and bracing of the core and the diaphragm is very important with any type of squats or compound movement like this, because it keeps the body rigid and prevents injury. Ankle mobility is also required for front squats and squats, but mostly front squats so that you could get to that bottom position. And this is a big controversy these days with squats, but you're going to want to achieve the lowest possible depth you can without breakdown of your form for the maximum results. If you can't make it to that bottom position, I would highly recommend working on mobility work to be able to get to that bottom position, because that's just going to allow for so much greater results in the long run, and you'll just be healthier being in that bottom position. You'll have less knee pain, less back pain, less hip pain, less pain everywhere, because your body is ready to be in any position. So that's it for the quads. Now we're going to move on to the posterior chain, which consists of a few different muscles, which we're going to start with the hamstrings. The hamstrings are type 2 muscle fibers as well, along with the quads. So you're going to want to train those heavy as well. The hamstrings have attachments at the knee, the femur, and the pelvis, just like the quads, just converse on the opposite side. The stretch requires the knees to be fully extended and the hips to be fully flexed. Hamstring flexibility is often limited by nerve stretch of the sciatic nerve, which runs down the legs, which can be fixed over time with elephant walks or hamstring slider stretches. They all have their different names, but that's going to be your main way to improve your hamstring flexibility if you have that nerve stretching. Seated hamstring curls are going to be one of your best exercises for a maximum stretch, along with other exercises which we'll talk about in a few. Lying hamstring curls are going to be the best for your max contraction, with the hips consciously being extended during the entire contraction to ensure that both ends of the hamstring, extending the hips and flexing the knees, are going to be fully contracted together. So some key exercises are going to be your RDL. So the RDL is great because it gets a really good stretch on the hamstring, but it's also a compound movement. So you're also going to be hitting the rest of the legs, and you could go very heavy with these. They're also going to allow you to control the eccentric of the portion and keep good time under tension on the muscle as well. I'm a big fan of those. And if you can't get to the bottom position, either give yourself a deficit or use a wider grip. The only problem with the wider grip is it works your upper back a lot more, and that's often going to fatigue quicker than your hamstrings. So that's just something to keep in mind if you do those, but it's also a great exercise to work your upper back. So hamstring curls, like I mentioned before, are going to be your next best. Seated ones are going to be better towards the end of your workout for a better stretch, and lying hamstring curls are going to be better for the beginning to exhaust that fully contracted position that you're really not going to be able to get that fully contracted position with any other exercise, because no other exercise has your hips fully extended and your knees fully flexed. So the next muscle that we're going to talk about with the posterior chain is going to be the glutes. So the glutes are a mixed muscle fiber type, and the concentration varies by person with these. There's no real percentage split that we know of. It varies by person between 50-50 and 80-20 in some people as well. So what I recommend with these is train heavy first, then use lighter weights to exhaust the remaining fibers towards the end. So the attachments are at the femur and the pelvis, and the glutes are the biggest and the strongest muscle in the human body. So you're going to have to train these heavy and often. So the glutes extend the hips and externally rotate the femur. So also there's the glute medius underneath the gluteus maximus, which is going to help with these exercises as well, and is something that's also important to train, but for hypertrophy it's pretty much irrelevant, so we'll talk about that in another video. So a full stretch for the glutes requires the hips to be fully flexed, the knee to also be flexed, because you don't want the hamstring to take any stretch at all during this stretch, because then you're taking away from the glutes. So that's going to be a great way to stretch the glutes, but an even better way is going to be with a pigeon style stretch, where your knee or where your hip is fully externally rotated and flexed forward. And that's you're really going to feel that mostly in the glutes. Some key exercises for the glutes. First is going to be deadlifts, obviously, and I have a video about deadlift variations that help with hypertrophy. So the emphasis on the top portion of the movement is going to grow your glutes, because that's where they're the strongest at the lockout. And bands can also add emphasis on the glutes. If you have the bands where it's tighter at the top, or chains so that it's heavier at the top, that's going to help with the glutes. But also if you have a hip band, that's also going to help with the glutes as well, and that's going to help grow your gluteus medius to prevent injury to your knees or your feet or your hips or your low back even. The gluteus medius is just an all-around important muscle, but not to get too much into that. Back extensions are also going to be a great exercise. Now these, depending on the angle of the back extension, you have fully horizontal ones, you have fully vertical ones, and you have ones that are anywhere in between. My favorite are the ones at a 45-degree angle, because those you'll be able to get a good stretch with a lot of tension on the muscle with the leverages, but you're also going to get a really strong lockout to hit those glutes. So you're going to be hitting a good amount of hamstrings and glutes, and your low back is going to get killed on these as well if you're using weight. So these I give completely to my base in my deadlift, because I literally spammed these for my first couple years training, and I think they're a really great exercise. But if you want to focus more on the glutes with these, externally rotate your legs, have your knees pointing out more and your toes pointing out more, and you'll really feel it when you extend in the hips in the glutes more than the hamstrings. Hip thrusts are also going to be a great one to grow your glutes. A hip band can be used to activate the gluteus medius as well, and also get more stimulus on the gluteus maximus by having to force that external rotation, which will strengthen your glutes to support and prevent injury during the squat and deadlift. So the last muscles today for leg day are the calves, and the first part of the calf is the one that you see mostly, and that's the gastrocnemius, and that's going to be the outside part of the calf that has the shape to it. And that's the one that most people want to be bigger to look better. But we'll go into the soleus later as well and why that's important too. So the calves overall are type 1 muscle fibers because they're used for endurance. So you want to train with low weight for controlled reps, and you also want to be doing a lot of endurance work on these too. So if you're a runner, you ever notice that runners have much bigger calves than most people because they're constantly using the calves for endurance, which is what they're used for. So they get all that stimulus from the running and are forced to grow. So the calves have attachments at the heel. Well, the gastrocnemius has attachments at the heel and then below and above the knee. So the stretch will be when the foot is flexed forward, flexed up, and the knee is fully extended because it crosses that knee joint. So your exercise for the gastrocnemius is going to be any kind of standing calf raise. I like to separate it left and right because that'll let you get more stimulus on each one and have better balance. You just got to make sure you're doing the same amount of reps on both sides. So lastly is the soleus, which I mentioned before. It's also a type 1 muscle fiber. And this is going to be underneath the gastrocnemius, which just like the brachialis with the arm, if you train this muscle, it will grow and make the calf look much bigger in general. This one actually takes up most of the size of the calf, but the gastrocnemius is the one with the shape. So growing both of these is going to be very important for a good physique. The soleus has attachments at the heel and just below the knee. So the stretch is going to be with both the foot and the knee fully flexed at the bottom of the squat position. And this will ensure that the gastrocnemius is not taking the stretch with the knee fully extended. And your exercise with this is going to be the same as the stretch. When your knee is bent, this muscle is going to get more stimulus than the gastrocnemius. So that's how you're going to train the soleus over the gastrocnemius. So that was our leg day, and this concludes our educational series on hypertrophy. I'm probably going to make more videos along the lines of these in the future with different topics. So definitely subscribe, like this video if you liked it, and look out for more videos in the future just like that. So thank you guys all for watching. A lot of these videos take a lot of work to create, so I'd highly appreciate if you like, share, and subscribe so you get to see all of our later videos that we come out with. So once again, thank you guys for watching this video, and we'll see you guys next time.